Hi, welcome, and thank you for joining the Running Start info session. My name is Katie Foster, and I manage the Running Start program here at North Seattle College. Today, we'll talk a little bit about North Seattle College and the Running Start program, get into specifics about how the Running Start program works, and go over some common questions that we get. At the end of the presentation, I will switch over to our website to go over a little bit more details about how to apply and what that application process looks like. So to start, we'll talk about North Seattle College. We are located in the Northgate area across the freeway from the old Northgate Mall. And the light rail station does have a bridge that drops directly into our campus. So very easy to get to from a lot of the high schools in the area. We do have about 6,000 students each quarter. Majority of our students are here part-time, and they're generally taking classes for a wide variety of reasons. A lot of times taking classes for a transfer degree, maybe career training program. We do have a few bachelor's programs as well. So overall, a very diverse population here at North. And as a Running Start student, you'll have the opportunity to take classes with that full variety of students. We don't have any specific Running Start classes. So Running Start students will be in classes with our whole population of students and get to experience kind of what that college setting looks like. So what is Running Start? It is a dual enrollment program that was created by Washington State in 1990. And it's a program where high school juniors and seniors are able to earn college credit and high school credit by taking the same class. It has or allows for students to take a maximum of 21 credits per quarter and will cover most or all of that tuition cost. And as far as who is eligible for the program, any high school junior or senior that is enrolled in a Washington State public high school. And for North Seattle specifically, you do need to show proof of placement into college level English or college level math. There are a lot of ways that you can show that proof of placement, and we will get into those details a little bit later in the presentation. Once you are enrolled in Running Start and a college student at North, you have a full access to our support and resources at the college. Some of a few of them that we like to highlight are disability services. This is especially important if you have a 504 or an IEP at your high school. Those accommodations do not automatically roll over to the college. So it's important if you do have any accommodations that need to be set up, that you would work with our disability services office to get those in place. Another service that a lot of students access is tutoring. Tutoring is available both in person and online, and we have a wide variety of subjects of tutors that are available. It's all completely free for students, so it's a really great resource to use and highly recommend for a lot of our students. We also have academic counseling. These are professional counselors that are trained for short-term counseling services. It is also completely free for our students, and a lot of times can be a really great resource for a lot of subjects, but especially study habits, kind of time management skills, and working on those things to help you be a better student. And then we do have student leadership on campus. And we have a lot of Running Start students that choose to participate in this. Our student body president has been a Running Start student in the past, and can be a really great way to get connected to other students and events that are happening on campus if that's what you're looking for. We're often asked kind of who are Running Start students, or like what makes a successful Running Start student. And we have such a wide variety. But some of the skills or things that we're looking for are students with good time management skills, and students that are really ready for more independence in their academics. On the Running Start campus and just in your classes, you have a little bit more freedom than you may have in a high school class. Maybe don't have someone following up with you as much. So really someone that's able to manage those things for themselves and manage kind of multiple deadlines and multiple schedules, we find tend to be the most successful here. A lot of times students are seeking a more challenging curriculum than they may have at the high school, or just looking for a change of scenery and looking to really move on to that college campus experience. This past year, we had about 600, just over 600 Running Start students on campus, and a majority of those students are with us part-time. So meaning that they're doing some of their classes at the high school and some at the college. And overall, our Running Start students do very well academically. We found that about 89% this past year had a 2.0 GPA or above, which is about a C average, and about 64% have a 3.5 or above. So again, academically doing very well, and is even a little bit higher than our general population. We also had about 30 students complete their associate's degree with us last year by the time they graduated from high school. So it's not a large number of students that are completing their degree while still in high school, but if this is something you're interested in, it certainly is possible. And you would just work with us in the Running Start office throughout your time at North to help plan those classes and discuss those specifics. There are quite a few benefits to participating in Running Start, and obviously one of the main ones is the cost savings. So it's about $650 for one college class. So depending on how many classes you take over your time in Running Start, this could add up to quite a big savings. As I mentioned, you also could have the opportunity to earn your associate's degree while in high school. And you also can prepare for your major early. So if you want to start taking those classes to get a little bit of a jump start at the college or university, this is a great way to do that. It also allows for students to start experiencing a college campus maybe before you move to that university setting. It's a good kind of in-between step. It also allows for students to stay involved in their high school while participating in Running Start. So you can still do sports and prom and clubs at your high school if that's something that you're looking to do while still taking classes at North. So Running Start, as I mentioned, will pay for a maximum of 21 credits of tuition. However, there are still some expenses that you will be responsible for as a Running Start student. So each class has class fees associated with it, and these can range anywhere from $20 to $200, just depending on the class. If you're taking maybe an English class, that will typically have a lower fee, but some of the science or art classes tend to have additional lab fees and things that could add up. So it does vary per quarter and per class. You would also be responsible for purchasing any books or materials for your classes. And again, this can range anywhere from $50 to $400 per quarter. Typically, it's not on the 400 side of things, but it can vary again, depending on how many textbooks you have and how many classes you're taking, if that adds up. And then transportation, Running Start does not provide any transportation assistance. So you would be responsible for either purchasing a parking pass if you plan to park on campus, or a bus pass, or however else you would be getting to campus there. If you are eligible for free or reduced lunch at your high school, then we are able to waive some of those expenses. So your high school counselor would indicate your eligibility during the enrollment process, and that will allow us to waive most of the class fees, and also allows you to receive your textbooks through the Running Start office, either through a loan program or with assistance in purchasing those materials. We also have a limited number of laptops available, so if that is something that you need, you can work with our office to get that provided for you. So I'll talk a little bit more about academic life of a Running Start student and what some of those specifics may look like. So you would have the chance to take either part-time or a full-time workload, and that just depends really on how many classes you're taking at the high school. A part-time workload can vary anywhere from one class at the college to a majority of your class at the high school, or more of a 50-50 split. A full-time course load at the college is typically 3 classes. Most of our classes are 5 credits, so that would typically look like 15 credits here or 3 classes at the college. Running Start will cover the tuition for any class that is 100 level or above, because that's considered a college level course. And we recommend that you focus on those high school graduation requirements early on to make sure that those are completed within your time in Running Start. And then if you have additional elective space or some time in your schedule, that can allow for exploring new subjects or just other areas of interest. As I mentioned, most of the classes at North are 5 college credits, and you'll take that class, that one class for 1 quarter, and that will give you 1 high school credit or 1.0 credit for the year. So for example, English 101 is a very common class for Running Start students to take. You would take English 101, which is a 5 credit class, for 1 quarter, which is about 10 weeks. And when you successfully pass that class, that will earn you 1.0 credit of either LA 11 or LA 12 at your high school. So you have the opportunity to earn credits at a quicker pace when in Running Start. But because you're taking that full year's amount of credit in 1 quarter, it does move very quickly, and a lot of information is packed into that quarter. For a 5 credit class, that typically looks like 5 hours of time in class per week. And for every class hour, we estimate about 2 hours of study time outside of class for reading, assignments, things like that. So as I mentioned, three classes per quarter or 15 credits may not initially sound like a heavy workload, but when you calculate all of those hours, it actually is quite a bit of time devoted to those 3 classes. And then as far as timing, we'll take a look at the class schedule a little bit later, but you'll find that most of our classes that are on campus are offered primarily in the morning or early afternoon. We do have some evening classes available as well, but it really just depends on what classes you're looking at. And then we have 3 different class formats that are available. We have in-person or hybrid classes, and those would require students to come to North Seattle campus, typically 2 or 3 days a week, to physically go to their classes. And then we have online asynchronous courses that do not require any scheduled class meetings. You would just be logging in online to access your materials and work kind of at whatever time works best for you. And then the third option is taking virtual classes, and we have a limited number of virtual classes offered, but those would be classes with a scheduled class time, but you would log into Zoom or another online platform to access those. And so a little bit of information about the college calendar. As I mentioned at North, we are on a quarter system, which looks a little bit different from the high school semester system. We have quarters that are about 11 weeks long, and so it moves at a much quicker pace. And that also means that our breaks do not necessarily align with the high schools. So for example, we do not have a midwinter break here at the college, and sometimes the spring breaks might not align as well. So it's important if you're planning ahead for maybe college visits or family vacations, if that's something you typically take during breaks. It can be a challenge because you are still expected to be in class when classes are in session, and that may not line up with the high school. So particularly if you're a part-time student, that could be a challenge. You can join Running Start any quarter, but the majority of our students will start in the fall or maybe in the summer quarter. It can be a challenge to join in winter or spring because of those calendars not lining up, but it is possible, and we would just work with your high school counselor if that is something that you're interested in. So now I'll talk a little bit about summer quarter because this is a fairly new addition to the Running Start program. And summer quarter Running Start is available for rising juniors and rising seniors. And you would be eligible for a maximum of 10 credits in the summer. A few things that you would want to consider if you're thinking of starting in the summer is that it's an 8-week quarter versus our normal 11-week quarter. So you're earning the same amount of credits and the same amount of information is covered, but it is condensed down into an even shorter time period. So classes will move very quickly. And so sometimes that adjustment could be a little bit more challenging in the summer quarter. We typically would recommend starting maybe with just one class or taking 5 credits in the summer, even though that eligibility technically is for 10 credits. Some other things to consider is that there would be limited or no high school support in the summer because high schools will be closed. The college campus is open and we're available for support. However, it is a smaller college community. We have less students here, so it's just a little bit of a different feel than if you are starting out in the fall quarter. Our summer quarter typically runs from July through August, and it does require a separate enrollment verification form specifically for summer quarter. And we'd just like to mention that throughout your time in Running Start, you will still continue to work with your high school counselor and your Running Start advisors. So your high school counselor is someone that you'll meet with each quarter to sign off on the enrollment verification form, which is some paperwork that's required by the state and lets us know about your eligibility. And when you check in with them each quarter, it's important to touch base about your high school graduation requirements because that is something that is stored completely with the high school, and we in the Running Start office don't have access to that information. So any graduation requirements or things like that will still go through the high school. And then you'll work with the Running Start advisor to help process your application. We can help with quarterly registration. If you're planning to move on to a university or planning for a specific major, we can help you with that. And then we'll also monitor your academic progress each quarter, help connect you to resources, or provide that additional support if necessary. And then we include this slide just to talk a little bit more about the Running Start format compared to other dual credit programs, specifically AP or IB, but we know that there are a lot of different options. There's college and the high school and a lot of different programs that are available to students now. But just highlighting a little difference here is that Running Start courses are taken in an 11-week quarter. At the end of that quarter, you'll earn a grade and receive college credit. No matter what that grade is, it will be going on your permanent college transcript and will follow you wherever you choose to go after high school. With an AP or an IB class, you would take that for the entire academic year. And then at the end of the year, you would choose whether or not to take that exam. And then in order to earn college credit, you would need to earn an exam score high enough, to get that college equivalency. And then we'll talk a little bit about transitioning out of Running Start, specifically if you're looking to go to a four-year university. It's important to note that you will be still applying to universities as a first year or a freshman applicant. And that is true whether you have taken one Running Start class or you're earning your full associate's degree. Because you are still in high school when you're applying, that means that you will be applying as a freshman. And that means that you are still required to complete all of those requirements. So maybe taking the SAT or whatever other requirements and deadlines apply. You will need to pay for your North Seattle transcript to be sent to the college as well. And that is how your credits from the college will transfer over to the university. Many of the universities in the Washington area, most or all of your credits should transfer, but it is really important to know that it's always up to the receiving institution to determine how credits are transferred in. That is particularly important for out-of-state schools or for private schools, because it's not guaranteed that all of your credits from North would transfer in. So if you are looking out of state or at specific private schools, we would just encourage you to check in with those universities as early as possible to see how those credits would be brought in. And then we have a lot of students that choose to continue at North Seattle after their Running Start program. We have various associate's degrees and career training programs, as well as Seattle Promise. And a lot of those students will choose to continue on in any of those programs as well. And then we like to have a little note here specifically for the parents and guardians, because your kind of rights and access to information can look a little bit different once your student is enrolled at North. So grades are not sent home at the end of each quarter. Your student will have access to their grades in CTC Link and can check their grades that way. We will send a copy of the transcript to the high schools, which will then be put on the source. So you will eventually have access to those grades, but it does look a little bit different. And then college staff are not able to share information with parents or guardians unless a consent to release confidential information is provided by your student. Even if your student is underage, because they are enrolled in college, there is a federal policy for the Family Educational Right to Privacy Act, or FERPA, that prevents us from giving out any information about a college student without written permission from them specifically. So now we'll talk a little bit about the application process. And this is specific to North Seattle. So if you're looking at another college, it's important to look at their website to see how it may vary. But there's essentially 4 steps to applying. First, you'll apply online to North Seattle College. This will get your information in our system and will provide you with a CTC Link ID number, which is essentially your student ID number at the college. Once you have that, you can determine your placement. As I mentioned, all students need to show placement into college level math or college level English. And so you can determine how you will be doing that. After that, you can meet with your high school counselor and they will complete the enrollment verification form with you. And then you're able to submit your Running Start enrollment packet. So now I will jump over to our website here and go through these steps in a little bit more detail. So from the North Seattle homepage, go to Programs and then Running Start. And then you can click on the Get Started page. And this will show you those enrollment requirements and then the steps to enroll. And so here we have those 4 steps listed out again. And the first one here is apply to North Seattle College with this link here in the first bullet point. Once you're here on the online admissions application portal, first thing you'll do is to create a new account. You only need to do this if this is your first time on the portal. So if you've applied to another college or done this before, then you do not need a new account. Once you've created your account, then you can log in as an existing user and work through your North Seattle application. Here on the second bullet point, we do have some instructions. So we have a PDF provided with some screenshots. And so once you're logged in, if you have any questions about how to fill in the application, we have some suggestions here and kind of an overview of what that will look like. Once you've submitted your online application, you'll get 2 emails back from NSC Admissions. The first one is a confirmation that your application has been submitted. And then the second one you should receive within about 3 to 5 business days, depending on the time of year and depending on the wait. And that second email will include your CTC Link ID number. Once you have that, then you can move on to determining your placement for classes. And there are a variety of ways that you can place in. And it depends a little bit if you're looking at English or math placement or both. A lot of times our students may use their Smarter Balance or SBAC scores for placement for English. And then we have a variety of different ways to place in here. So I would just read through all of these options, see if you have any of these test scores already available. If not, then no worries. You can just submit the English or math directed self-placement tools. Both of these are completely free options, and they are more of a survey that's done online. So they are not a test. But they will allow you to read through some descriptions and then kind of assess your comfort level. That will generally make a suggestion about which level for placement and then allow you to self-select either into English 101 or the appropriate college level math class. Both of the instructions and links to those are available here on the website. Once that is completed, then you can meet with your high school counselor. And when you meet with them, you'll need to fill out this enrollment verification form. And here is a copy of the form that there's a portion for the student to complete, a portion for the high school counselor to fill out. And then this middle portion here will you'll work with your high school counselor to determine your eligibility. So it will show the maximum number of credits you can take at the college. Your classes will be listed right here above that, and then a spot for your counselor to sign, and then a student and guardian signature on the bottom. This can be filled out in person with your counselor, or it can be filled out digitally as well. Once your EVS, we call it, enrollment verification form, is signed, then you can submit your online enrollment packet here. This packet, scroll down, it just has some basic information here on the first page. It asks how you will be placing in, so whether you've done the placement or if you're providing outside scores. The next page is the Running Start contract. So you'll put the student and guardian name at the top, have some important information to read through, and then there's a space for electronic signatures on the bottom. This third page is optional, and this is the consent to release confidential information. So if you, as the student, would like to give permission for us at the college to speak with anyone, whether that's a sibling, a parent, then you can either use this link or fill out this page here. This final page is where you can attach any documents. So you will be required to attach that UVF form. If you have a summer form as well, you can click there to attach multiple quarters. There's a space for transcripts or any test scores if you need to provide those. And then you can submit it here at the bottom. Once you've submitted your enrollment packet, that will come directly to us in the Running Start office, where we can process it from there. And before I jump back to our presentation, I do just want to highlight one other area on the website, because a lot of times your high school counselor will ask that you've looked at the schedule and have an idea of what classes you want to take before they will meet with you. So from our northseattle.edu homepage, right here in the middle, there's a View Classes button. If you click there, then you can select the quarter that you're looking to start. And then that will pull up the class schedule here. You don't have to apply or have any login information to access this, so you can check it out at any time. You can select the term that you're looking for, and then there's a lot of different filters here that you can use. I usually just use this subject dropdown to start. And then you can kind of look through and explore the subjects that you're interested in. You may notice that there are sometimes two listings here, one regular and one with a CCN. This stands for Common Course Number, and it just means that it's the same class across the community college system. So a lot of times, if you're not able to find your class in one section, just check out the other. But if you select your subject and then click search, it will pull up the options there. And as I mentioned before, English 101 is a very popular course for Running Start students, so I'll use that as an example here. So we have the name of the class here at the top, and then below that are all of the different class sections that are available for that quarter. So we have quite a few here for fall, and I'll just point out a few things to pay attention to at the beginning here. So the first one is the instruction mode here on the right, and it'll tell you basically how the class is being offered. So we have in-person, web enhanced, and a hybrid. Those are very similar courses, and both are required, have required meetings on campus for students. So over here under the days, you'll see which days you would be required to be on campus. Most of them are maybe 2 or 3 days a week. And then we have the start and end time listed, as well as the specific room number. The instructor name is listed here for some, and then the number of units or credits is listed here. The open/total column will tell you whether there are still seats left in that class or not. So the green O means that there are 25 open seats still. Then if we scroll down, you'll see some other formats here. So online asynchronous is our next one. These are fully online classes, and you'll see that there is no date or time listed here, and there won't ever be a date or time listed because it is a fully asynchronous course. You would be accessing your materials online with no live instruction. And we also have an online scheduled option, and these ones are considered our virtual classes. So there is a specific day and time to be available, but you would be logging in to a Zoom or online session. You can also click to expand these sections here, and that'll provide a description of the class as well as the enrollment requirements to tell you what sort of placement you would need, or maybe if there's a class that's needed before you can take this class. All of that information would be listed here. So now we'll jump back to the info session slides. So Once you have submitted your online enrollment packet, as I said, that comes to us in the Running Start office. We'll review that to make sure that we have everything we need, and we will email you back within 2 business days. If there's anything missing, we'll just let you know what we still need. But if it is complete, we will let you know the next steps to complete. All new students will attend a group registration session, either on Zoom or in person. And that is where the Running Start office and advisors will walk you through registration and enrolling in your classes. You'll also have a chance to ask us questions about classes. If you're debating between 2 or have anything else that you need, you'll be able to touch base with us in that session. And then once you're registered for your classes, then the only other step is to attend a new student orientation in September or before your quarter starts. It included some dates and deadlines here for specific dates for your quarter. You can refer to the academic calendar that is available online or check in with the Running Start office. But new student registration for summer and fall quarters begin in late May. And then summer quarter will begin in early July. Fall quarter generally starts the end of the end of September. And then we will have, as I mentioned, a new student orientation before those quarters start. Applications will continue to be accepted after registration has started, all the way up until the beginning of each quarter. However, it is really important that you apply as early as you can and start getting those materials in before registration opens, because classes will fill up. So the longer that you wait to register, you'll just have fewer classes to choose from and maybe not get your top classes or have as much flexibility in your schedule. And then we provided our information here. So if you have any additional questions after watching this presentation today, please reach out to us. Or if you have any problems that you encounter throughout the application process, we are here to support you through that and would love to hear from you. So thanks again for watching this presentation today. Please reach out if needed, and we look forward to having you join us in the Running Start program. Thank you.